from MMA Fighting Studios, this is Between the Links. And now, your host, Mike Heck.
The iconic voice of Esther Lynn welcomes you to a brand new edition of Between the Links. Of course, Esther Lynn, the GOAT voiceover person for our UFC timelines. I'm your silver medalist, Mike Heck. Thank you for joining us on another Thursday. Happy Thursday to us all. We are on the eve of UFC 313, the eve of Alex Pereira defending his title against Magomed Ankalaev in the ultimate test at his 205-pound reign, according to most people. The UFC, TKO, Dana White getting into the boxing world. There's so much to discuss, and that's why we're turning the programming over to you guys, as we will be answering your questions all show long. And joining me to answer those spicy questions is the hot take kid himself, Mr. No Gray Area, the greatest climber you will ever see in this MMA space, the one and only Jed Meshew from MMAfighting.com. And there he is. Hi, Jed.
Hey, Mike. How's it going?
It's going. Nice and windy. What are you, like 30 minutes from where I'm at right now in the car?
Super is like 45. But yeah, down at my folks' place. Came down a little early, spend a little more family time this weekend before we get to the funness of 313. And let's just get it out right here, right off the top, Mike. It's pretty important for us to set the tone for the watch party on Saturday. We're going to be going live earlier this week because the prelim main event, the fight everybody has been just on the edge of their seat for, the Curtis Blades versus Rizvan Kuniev, the Rizzler himself taking on Razor Blades. That is our climb this week, Mike. Stage 12 of the climb. Curtis Blades, gotta bring it home for us. Don't feel good about it. And so we're going to go live early so you guys can get my live reaction to $1,000 bet.
Damn. Wasn't the climb? What was the
where
climb bet for
climb's at.
312? Oh, it was the main event. It was Strickland DDP.
It was the over 1.5 there. And that felt good almost from the very go. I was like, I'm feeling uncomfortable. A lot less comfortable with this one. Step 12. I mean, every step from this point on will just be awful because it took 11 to get here. But that's the one I felt the best about, which isn't saying much. It's a very interesting card this weekend, which I assume we'll talk a lot about. It's up to y'all. You guys get to ask the questions, but I don't know what else there is to talk about other than 313, though you guys can surprise us.
Hey, we got boxing news. We got lots of stuff. I am very curious to see what our bets are going to look like side by side. I have a feeling we're going to be on opposite sides of the spectrum on a few of these fights, so we shall see. Remember, undefeated on main card bets at watch parties this year in 2025 so far. So let's see if we can keep the luck continuing. Let's bring Casey in. He will bring up your fantastic questions. And there he is. He's got sleeves and a hood on.
Yeah.
So excitement is through the roof.
Chilly. It's like in the low 60s out here. It's like crazy. Like, ooh.
Oh,
it's drizzly and stuff. Yeah.
I'm so glad, like, coming down to the low country, Mike, like this past week, Atlanta has been gorgeous, right? Like maybe slightly chilly at the very earliest parts of the morning. And then it gets into the mid 60s. Woke up this morning, it was 30. And I was like, F this nonsense, heading south.
Yep. It was freaking cold this morning. Yeah. It's one of those things where you're just like, yeah, I probably don't need a jacket today. And then I walked outside to go to the gym, and I was like, can't go back in now because if I open that door, Shiloh's going to bark, wake up everybody. Yeah. So I am just stuck wearing a T-shirt and shorts. And
stuck with my bad choices.
Yep. And speaking of bad choices, Casey, bring up the first question. Just kidding.
All right. Yeah.
We love you guys. You guys have asked great questions.
Super chatters front of the line. So we have.
That's right.
Sleeto,
Jed, get Bing Island Luke on the payroll for No Bets Barred. I'm not saying it.
I don't think you have to. Yeah, Long Island Luke from Morning Combat joined me this week for No Bets Barred. He was also on for 312. And I like Luke, man. Good dude. Certainly the superior of the Morning Combat Lukes, right? Like there are a couple of Lukes over there. one of them's better. I think we all know which one is the better one. And happy to have him on. He will almost certainly join again. As long as he wants to keep coming on, I'm happy to have him. It's a question of he's got a lot of other things going, and I don't want to waste his time with cough cough next week's card. So,
Oh boy.
but we will definitely have him back. It was great on this week's. I don't remember if this was on air or off. So if you already heard these comments, sorry, not sorry. Glad you're tuning into all of MMA Fighting's wonderful programming. Luke and I were talking. Is like, man, I heard you and Mike say something about Vegas 104 on your shows last week, and I didn't really look ahead and realize it. And just now I am, and wow, this is a really bad fight card. It's like, yeah, man, it's tough scenes next week. So enjoy this weekend, guys, because we got a week off functionally next week.
We should just watch party next week's card, just digitally, and just make it as
Honestly,
make it as much
and
fun as possible.
honestly, like that probably would be like the only way to really add value to that card. Just be like, throw a digital watch party up, get the chat going, because otherwise, man, like it's tough hang.
Are
There we
we?
go.
Is there ever going to be a point where we see an Apex event, especially where it's just like a PFL Europe? I don't know how to describe it, or just something like it's just a thing. It's not like an event anymore. Well, I don't think we're at that point yet.
Next
But
week is
man,
that.
we're testing it next week.
I no hyperbole. I genuinely believe next week's card is the worst card the UFC's put on paper in the modern era. Even the main event is a rematch that Marvin Vettori himself was like, I didn't realize I was signing up to rematch this dude. I thought I was fighting the other guy named Roman. Like it is. There's
is, it,
no redeeming qualities to
is
it.
that a better fight, or is it the same? If it was
It's
Kopylov,
better if it's at least new, but it's
I
mostly
mean,
just indicative of what it is when the fighter himself is like, I didn't even know what I was signing up for. Just filling out an obligation.
Hey, listen, it's a historic event because this will be the first UFC Fight Night card that is no longer taking place at the world's most famous Apex, but is the first card taking
oh,
place at the world's most mightiest Apex.
mightiest
So
Apex.
something to keep your eye on. I think we should change the wording of UFC Mighty Apex 1 and just go from there.
Yeah,
Ooh, I like that a
mighty
lot.
Apex. I like
Like
we have
we've got
different levels.
103 at the most famous Apex. Now we get to move into the mighty Apex.
Starting.
I love it.
The
We just
next
changed, we just
generation,
made
the
the card
first.
so much better.
Let's even retroactively do it. Like the first 100, that was the famous. That was the famous tenure. These next 100, they'll be the mighty tenure, and then in 2 years when we're on Apex 300, we can get a new branding for it. I love this idea, Mike. This is elite
This is great.
stuff.
Let's go.
All right. Thank you, Sleeto. What else we got here? Super chat from Chase.
Who does Alex call out if he gets a big stoppage? I assume you're talking about Alex Pereira, not Alex Morono. Although Alex Morono is fighting on this card against Carlos Leal. Maybe Morono's got a little got something spicy to say on the microphone, but I assume we're talking Alex Pereira here, Jed Meshew. So look, if Pereira and his team called you up right now, Jed Meshew Fighter Consulting Services, because you are open for business, you charge a good introductory rate, and they said, Jed, Alex goes out there and boops Ankalaev. He gets a microphone. What would you advise him to say? Who's he calling out?
Well, first of all, thank you for promoting the Jed Meshew Fighter Consulting Services. Very modest retainer, right? Like, and on speed dial. You can get to me 24/7 with questions about your career development. And like I said, very modest retainer. I billable hours, I keep that rate pretty low. So get at me, guys. If I'm Alex Pereira's consultant in these matters, and I don't even think he needs it for me. Like, right? Like, this is one of those when he calls me, I was like, Jed, what do I do after I knock out Ankalaev? I'd be like, hey, man, like, I'll tell you, but this is on the house because I don't even feel right taking credit. We all know, everybody knows. I'm not brainstorming great ideas for you here. This is your final fight at 205. I know on media day, he basically threw out a couple of options, including Dricus du Plessis as a possible sort of super fight, but DDP, he's got things going on at middleweight right now. That's sort of backburnered. If you're Pereira, you go out there, you get the win. You don't even have to specifically call anyone out. You don't call anybody out. You call out Dana White and you say, Dana, look at all I've done for this company in the last the last 12 months, 4 main events. I am the guy carrying the banner for UFC right now. I want my shot. I'm done at 205. I've beaten everybody. I beat all the contenders. I beat the guy that people said I couldn't beat, that you guys were hiding me from. Let me fight for the heavyweight belt. I don't care which of them, right? I don't care if it's John. I don't care if it's Tom, but let me fight for the heavyweight title next. People are into it. I think that this will be his final fight at light heavyweight, at least for the foreseeable future. Frankly, win or lose, but certainly if he wins, well, what is he going to fight Carlos Ulberg? Who cares about him fighting Carlos Ulberg? Like, he beats Ankalaev. The narrative needs to be, I want to do what no one's done before. Let me fight for a third title.
I think Jones is the call out. I think you just got to do it. Even if he doesn't get it, even if he gets Tom, like, doesn't matter. If Tom Aspinall is not fighting John Jones next, then he's going to fight out.
I think Tom is the cooler call out, frankly. Yeah. Like, I think the aura call out is to be like, hey, I'm hearing John Jones is too shook to get that business from Tom.
That's it.
I ain't.
Yep.
Like, I'm not. Because, like, that's one, that sets up the John fight, because then John can clap back and be like, I'm the greatest fighter ever. I'm not scared of anyone, despite me transparently trying not to fight Tom. And so, like, maybe that just puts him into that, or it just sets up the Tom fight. Like, either way, I think, like, if you're just going for, like, what's the coolest thing he could do, it's like, hey, Dana, I'll fight Tom. John is scared, because if he wasn't, that fight would have been booked. I'll do it. International Fight Week. Let's go.
I love it. And just throw out, like, to quote the great rapper Bone Crusher, I ain't never scared. And then just drop the bomb. I ain't never scared. What?
Would it be so cool if he does win and then grabs the mic and he actually takes off his belt and lays his belt down and vacates the title right there and makes the challenge? Because you have to vacate now. You have to vacate.
You don't have to vacate now.
I know. Or vacate.
He should.
Like, I mean, like, he should, because he just doesn't need to do it. But, like, you don't have to vacate. Dana even said you don't have to vacate.
Wait, so that's all a lie? That whole thing?
Yeah, Dana was like, if you think you're going to, like, if you can do both, but, like, you don't have to vacate. It's like it's just one of those things. It happened because they wanted him pretty obviously. Like, they transparently just wanted him to fight Volk, and he's like, I don't want to do that. So they're not going to let him not fight, like, do the fights that they want. So you'll have to vacate if you want to do that. But, like, if you're Alex Pereira, you don't have to vacate, because who do they need to put a title on at 205 for him?
Has Pereira done any media since he vacated?
Yeah, I talked to somebody. I don't remember who it was.
You did
like,
talk? Okay.
Milk Boys, or like one of those things. I remember.
I think it was before, though. I think that was before.
Oh, maybe they did.
I don't remember. I don't recall possible. I feel like I would have seen something like Pereira talks about vacating the belt, and I haven't seen. Interesting.
Stay a mystery. Stay a mystery.
All right. Thank you. So, Alex Morono's calling out John Jones. Thanks a lot. Interesting. All right. Super chat from. If he doesn't call a heavyweight call out, there's no call out. You don't call out a challenger if you stay at light heavyweight, right? You just go, all right.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
If there was like a clear person, but there's not. Like, Ankalaev is the last dude. Like, he is, and there are always new challengers, but like, he's the guy who.
He's the guy. Now it's fresh matchups, the young guys or the newcomer. Yeah.
It's like if Carlos Ulberg beats Jan Blachowicz, that probably is like the
next generation.
But like, you don't call that out if you're the champ. You just accept the fight to defend your belt when that comes. You set yourself up for something better. You call out Tom. Like, that really is it. You call out Tom while taking a shot at John pointedly. And you get one of those two fights.
Tom's a tougher fight. I like it. All right. Thank you very much. Going to super chat from Duda.
Does Poetan look weird, odd on the UFC 313 fight poster? Also, Mike, movement predictions for 25.2. Does anyone? So I'll answer the second part in a minute. But
I have to pull up the
Poetan, does
fight
he look
poster to
odd?
see.
Yeah, we gotta see.
This is
It's
like
a,
not the
it's, a,
best shading done on this, but I don't know. It's
it's just
a
a really
side
boring
profile.
fight poster. Yeah, just
Yeah, it's side profile image, and I would say that the coloring is not like ideal, but nothing I would have noticed. I don't have any idea what the second part is, Mike. So
So every year for 3 weeks, at least now it's 3 weeks. It used to be longer, but CrossFit does CrossFit Open workouts. It's basically like the qualifier for it's basically the NFL playoffs for those who want to do it. But those who don't want to actually sign up for it, you just go through it and do it anyways. And they're usually pretty intense, short spurt workouts where it just clobbers you and you just empty the gas tank till it's over. Last week was burpees over a dumbbell and then like overhead snatches. And then you had a lunge. And then every time you finish the lunge, each volume went up by 3 reps for the snatch and the burpees. So you get 3, 6, 9, 12, up to 21 and more. Shit just kicks your ass. I would say there'll be some bar
that could
work.
rot in hell.
Yeah.
That could just
I would say
rot right in
some,
hell.
yeah, I would say hopefully there's some barbell work. I enjoy that. Maybe some power cleans. But I think there'll be some pull-ups or something of that nature, toes to bar, stuff where we're gripping onto the bar on the rig and doing shit we just hope doesn't rip our hands to shreds. That's what I kind of predict, but you just never know. Maybe some handstand push-ups. Be down for that, but we'll see.
You can do a handstand push-up?
I can't.
Like on a wall or just straight?
I need a wall.
Okay,
I
you
need a
need a
wall.
wall.
Like
I
just
was
my
going to say,
heels
if
are
you
on the
could do it
wall.
without a wall, that's impressive as hell.
It's like,
I mean, it's
oh,
still
no.
impressive with the wall, but
Yeah.
like,
It took me. I hate being upside down. It took me a year to even just like try it, just to get upside down. It's just a weird feeling, just trying to flip myself over because I feel like I'm just gonna fall on my head. But like I can get upside down now. Now it's just a matter of trying to do walks and stuff. That's the next step, but we'll see.
I watched a video with the people it was like a handstand race. It was really. You've seen those?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
those are
yeah.
awesome. Yeah, the handstand races.
I can't do
Yeah.
those. I can't do handstand walks yet.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
they're.
pun intended, walk before we run, and probably another year from doing handstand walks.
Although I do like doing cartwheels as my wrestling warm ups. Cartwheels are fun.
Oh, I get to
Underrated.
see you do cartwheel.
Yeah.
I get to see you do
must
cartwheels.
must
Yeah.
be nice. I can't move my arm over my shoulder. Like this is as high as this arm goes. So
Yeah, one of those.
both of those are non-starters for me.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Duda. Super chat from Tanvir.
Was having Ankalaev fight during Ramadan intentional by the UFC? Bilal best burns, but Alex is a different beast. You think this is an intentional move by the UFC to?
Doubtful.
What's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, I don't think so either.
Doubtful. I think that I don't. I think that if Bilal was, or not Bilal, sorry. I think that if Ankalaev was Umar, this wouldn't be happening because, like, transparently, maybe they didn't want Umar to win. They kind of wanted Umar to win, and they probably thought Umar was going to be a promotional asset for them. And that's why that fight happened on that timeline. Hey, we need to get this in before Ramadan. And this is the booking. And they don't feel the same way about Ankalaev. Like I don't think that they will be upset if Ankalaev is their champion. I don't think they'll be pumped about it because of what has been invested in Pereira. But I also think if Pereira loses, maybe Ankalaev gets the bump, right? Like he gets a little bit of the rub, and then Pereira can just still go up to heavyweight and people will love him anyway. But like this isn't they're not doing him any favors. It's here's the timeline, take it or don't. And so that's unfortunate for Ankalaev in this situation, but I don't think that it is intentional of like we are trying to hurt him.
Yeah, kind of cosign on that. It's just, yeah, man, if you want to fight for the belt, this is the day. And We understand if you don't want to take it because of Ramadan, totally fine. But if you don't take it, you're probably not getting another shot. So I guess intentional for like short term because we need this fight to happen if you're going to fight for the belt because we want Alex Pereira to fight on this card. But I don't think they were sitting in the quote unquote war room saying, how can we fuck with Magomed Ankalaev? Let's have him fight for the belt on Ramadan, like the first week of Ramadan against Alex Pereira. I don't think that was in the cards.
Would Ankalaev be the least, I guess, desirable champion that the UFC would have?
Yes.
I think so. Even more than
mean,
Bilal, because at least Bilal to me creates engagement. You know, Ankalaev
Well, also
kinda
speaks
just,
English, which is
that's
I
an
mean,
advantage
honestly,
too. Yeah.
just a massive difference for them. As far as current champions of people with the belt, undeniably, he will be the lowest totem pole there. As far as like possibles, he's still pretty low. I don't know. I'd have to like really suss it
Yeah.
out over who could like be a worse one. Um, but like he doesn't speak English. The fact is, he's actually usually in really fun fights. Not all of them, but like usually his fights are good. But for whatever reason, he has a reputation as being boring, which I
It's
don't
because of Dana
get.
White.
I mean, that is it.
Well,
But like,
and when he's
it's weird.
in bad fights, they're really bad. That's the thing.
That is also very true.
They're bad. They're just really bad.
Although, like the Thiago Santos fight, and going through timeline,
Yeah.
I remember that post fight show like it was yesterday, and I remember heck of a morning was going on at the time. We had on to the next one, and from that moment for the next maybe 4 to 5 days, we were talking about how there's no way in hell Magomed Ankalaev is getting a title shot off of that win. There's just no effing chance that happens. And I don't know if he ended up getting one. I don't know if that's
he fought
the
Anthony
time frame.
Smith afterward.
He fought Anthony Smith after that. We were
But
like,
he
there's
did
no
get the
way
big-
he's getting a title shot.
Yeah.
And
Anthony Smith,
the pushback that whole week was crazy. It was just like, oh, it's because you guys hate Ankalaev. I'm like, no, because that's not what you do when they give you a easy fight in the main event give you your first main event. And I'm not saying like Thiago Santos is a bad fighter, but at the time, like they set that fight up for Magomed Ankalaev to crush him so they could be like, all right, now this dude's going to fight for the belt. He's probably our best light heavyweight, but now we can sell this because he just destroyed a dude in his first main event. And what he did was he laid a big fat egg and just tackled Thiago Santos a bunch and laid on top of him. And it was a boring fight. Now, on the flip side, Dana White, if you watch the timeline video, absolutely dumped on the Ankalaev Blachowicz fight. Hated it, said it was a terrible main event, was pissed at Ankalaev, basically called him out exclusively for that fight being bad. And I don't think that's really fair because I have gone back and
not at all fair.
Yeah, I went back and rewatched it because I talked to John Anik a little while ago. Spoiler alert, and I mentioned this to John, and he completely agreed with me. That fight is not as bad as Dana made it out to be. It's not even nowhere near the way Dana described that fight. Nowhere near it. Like Blachowicz ripped that leg apart, and then Ankalaev had to dig deep in order to survive, and then almost won. Slowed the fight down a little bit, but to say that was like an awful fight is just wrong.
Didn't make sense. Yeah.
I have two things to note. The first one, to address the topic we are on. Ankalaev would be the worst of the champions. You talking reminded me when Dana said the same shit about Arnold Allen versus Movsar Evloev, and that fight is perfectly good. Movsar is the actual answer of the worst champion. Like, they desperately do not want Movsar to be champion. Because he is boring. Like, all of his fights are almost exclusively boring. The Arnold Allen was the aberration. And
I thought Sterling was good.
That
was a good fight.
Know. But like, all of his fights have gone to the cards. Ankalaev kills people like most of the time.
He has four knockout night bonuses. Four bonuses.
Mostly Ankalaev kills people, and then sometimes he's boring. Movsar has very few redeeming qualities other than just being an elite fighter. So I think Movsar would be the choice for like if they could specifically choose an elite fighter to not get the belt, who would it be? I don't think it's Ankalaev. And also to the kind of the original question, if they were trying to screw Ankalaev, they wouldn't have put it on this card. They would have done it 314 because this is the
Yep.
first week of Ramadan. And so,
Right.
like, functionally, the fasting part of it is
His weight
not
cut.
as big a deal
Yeah.
because, like, it's already during the weight cut. The water part is like because you water load to cut weight. Ankalaev has come out and said, like, I'm not adhering to that. I'm taking the water as part of it. And there's a term for how you make that up. And I don't, it's like kafara, something like that. I'm really sorry to the Muslim watchers that I'm not like up on this, but like he is making his atonement for intentionally breaking the fast in that way. But like the skipping meals part, that's a lot worse 6 weeks out when you're in like the actual training camp stage as opposed to the getting dialed down the final stretch to getting your weight on point. So they were trying to screw him. They'd have put this in Miami. I think that this is just how the timeline worked out.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Tanvir. All right. What else we have here? One more super chat just came in.
Connor, how does Alex's resume compare to Izzy's if he wins on Saturday?
Let me pull him up. I mean, I could do it off the top of my head, but
I mean,
because I have Alex's light heavy run off the top of my head. Not as good, but a different level of impressive. Like a different sort of
Different.
impressive, but not as good. Izzy beating Whitaker twice and Yoel Romero, like those are just better wins than Alex Pereira has. So to me, at least. And then he also has a win over Alex. They're split, they're split outcomes. But like, it's not really Alex's fault. But 205 is awful. It's just a really bad weight class, and he has knocked everybody out. And I love Yuri Prohashka more than most, but like, it's just a really bad weight class. So that's just not as good as like it's not sexy. Marvin Vittori is a great win. Jared Cannonier is a great win. Paulo Costa is a good win. Like those are meaningful wins in a way that I don't think Alex's are quite to that level because the weight class is worse. And Izzy just did it longer. But I mean, like, this is an incredible run. He'll have 4 light heavyweight title defenses if he wins on Saturday. It's really, really good.
yeah, I think I'm with you. I think strength of schedule wise, Izzy's is better. But I think when we look back on both these guys, let's just say like Pereira just beats Ankalaev, knocks him out, and then doesn't fight again, and then Izzy somehow doesn't fight again. In 2 years, when we talk about like, oh, who's had like the best run in the last 5 years, I bet Pereira's name comes up before Izzy's, only because he did it so quickly, and it's just, you know what I
The
mean? Like
optics are
yeah,
better.
100%. Yeah. That's the difference. I think overall, if you really dive in and you pick nits, it's going to be Izzy having the better overall resume. But I think like top of mind, non nitpicky, Pereira's name is going to come up first.
Honestly, I think it boils down to this, and this is a topic Casey gets on a lot for like ranking stuff. The way Pereira has done it has just been better. He has knocked everybody out, which is just better. Uh, to me, the Robert Whitaker and the Yoel wins are just much better than any win Alex has. Like, I just rate those wins higher than the wins Alex has. The rest of it's pretty comparable, frankly. And Alex certainly has the style points victory because certainly the back end of Izzy's career just became point fighting Izzy. But I think most people will not be on board with that because the optics, the energy, the momentum, it's all Pereira, baby. Like we are living in Alex Pereira's shadow right now. So I would say that the broader populace will be Team Pereira.
Would you say there will be an argument for the opposite on who fought the best dude if Pereira wins on Saturday?
No, I think Ankalaev will be his like one of his best wins.
But not as good as
Like
Izzy beating Whitaker or
I just don't think it. I think Izzy beating Whitaker
Yoel
is
though one
the
though. Come
best
on,
win
that's a
anybody
little
gets.
the
I
Yoel
mean,
one's
that
kind of sussy.
fight is boring. I think Yoel Romero was the best middleweight in the world at that time. So I thought Yoel
Was
Romero
he though?
clearly beat. I thought he clearly beat Robert Whitaker in their
In the
rematch.
rematch, yeah.
Yeah, I thought he won the first one, but I'm much more open to him not winning the first one. I don't think that there's. I think it is bad to say that he did not win the second one, and like those are just better wins. Because again, like, and this is certainly some bias here. 205 is trash. It is just an awful, awful weight class. And the secret thing is that it has always been a bad weight class. Like, but for a very specific period of time, like right at Pride, it just has a lot of names because there are personalities and people. But like for the past 8 years, it's been a terrible weight class. And Alex is like that. Honestly, this week that really got driven home to me more than I think I'd even. And I've thought it's a bad weight class for a long time, but just looking at him, being like, Magomed Ankalaev is, I think, undisputably the best wrestler at 205. He's not a particularly good wrestler. Like he's a good one, but like he doesn't do it. He just like it is just a weight class of people who kickbox kind of poorly. Now it. John Jones either killed it or the weight class just died because that's how heavyweight classes go in the sport. But it's a bad weight class. And so as much as I love Yuri, because I do, y'all know I love him. Like, is he historically in the same ballpark of fighter as Daniel Cormier? No, like, no. So it's, Alex is lording over a much weaker weight class than Izzy was.
That's fair.
Doing it more impressively, undeniably. And like I said, if you like, this is not a hill I'm going to die on. If you want to say Alex is better, not for me, but I'm not convicted in this belief.
All right.
All right.
Shout out to Yoel Romero fighting New England Ross Hilton.
Face of dirty boxing,
Dirty
baby.
Boxing 1. This is terrific
Yoel Romero,
matchmaking.
47 years old, just killing people. It's the best.
It's just terrific matchmaking.
Allegedly 47. Who knows? All right.
Honestly, it's true. He could be like 50.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
Could easily be.
It actually might be more impressive. We don't even know. Yeah. All right. Super chat from Rick Wynn.
Jed, have you tried Grok 3 instead of Chat GPT? It's objectively the best AI right now and has the latest data. So I think for all the no bets barred faithful out there, when there's a close line and Jed can't really decide on who he thinks is going to win and who to place the money on, he'll go to the robots. So Rick is asking if you have tried Grok 3 instead of Chat GPT.
No, and I think that longtime listeners of podcasts or videos probably understand why I won't be doing that. It's just a gimmick, and ChatGPT is a more fun gimmick. I don't have a ChatGPT bet this week, though. It would have been the main event. I am priced into a side on the main event, so I didn't ultimately use ChatGPT, though I did ask it. ChatGPT is of the belief that Alex Pereira is going to knock out Magomed Ankalaev in the second round.
That's how I see it as well. That's why my moolah is on Alex Pereira on Saturday.
Is Grok the Twitter one?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Yep. Oh, we definitely don't use that one. All right. Thank you, Rick. I use DeepSeek. I'm down with DeepSeek still.
I just used ChatGPT because it was the preeminent one when I started this gimmick, and it is literally the only time I use AI. Is for this gimmick. So I just open it up and I'm like, hey, blah blah blah. Cool, we're done.
All right. Thank you, Rick. Super chat again from Tanvir.
Thoughts on TKO boxing? Will we see more UFC fighters cross over to boxing? So big news. It's been teased for a while, and we knew this was coming. For anybody who thought Dana White was just gonna willy-nilly do this without Saudi and Turki Alalshikh, you were all crazy. And if I'm Dana, that was actually the right thing to do because Turki has made such a dent in the boxing world with how he promotes and the money they are spending right now. So Dana picked a pretty damn good partner. And if you're Turki, considering what the success the UFC has, they picked a pretty damn good partner as well. And this is interesting, Jed Meshew. This seems to have flipped the boxing world upside down in a lot of respects. What kind of impact will it have early and often? We shall see. But might as well just get your thoughts here. When this announcement became official, Dana White flew to New York. Him and Turkey signs the papers. They went on a bunch of shows together. Pat McAfee, they're buds. What'd you think? What's your thought about it? Are you excited for this? Intrigued? What are your questions? What do you got?
I am hopeful that this will fail catastrophically, because that is the good outcome. There is no nice way to put this. Nobody should want Dana White to have success in boxing. They simply should not, because why would you be a proponent of that? There's not a good reason other than purely your level of convenience. But like, we talk about this almost every week now. What level of convenience means is you get to watch Apex shows once a month, twice a month on ESPN Plus, and that is what it is. Like, when Dana says he's going to fix boxing, boxing is not fundamentally broken. It is broken if your worldview is, I must control all aspects of all things and be the primary and only beneficiary of it. That is broken in the terms of what Dana is, because that's how the UFC operates. These are not disputable facts, guys. Like, the UFC makes 80 cents out of every dollar they sell. That is just not morally acceptable, and we are okay with it because it's how it goes. But like, I don't think anybody just in the dark would say, yes, that is how we optimally would want a sport to exist. That is the end goal to do with boxing as well, to control all the fighters and to pay them a pittance of what they are generating via their names. So, the Saudi Wealth Fund and Dana White and TKO and Ari Emanuel can become billionaires. Like, that is the exact trade-off that is being offered here. It is currently not doable because of the legislation that is the Ali Act. It seems extremely obvious that a point of, like, this was a point of emphasis. This felt like they were tipping their hand when Ari Emanuel went on McAfee the other week and was like, the Ali Act's bad. We're going to see what we can do about it. Like, they are pretty clearly going to try and get the Ali Act taken down. And given their sway with the current presidential administration, fair odds that they do. And if you don't know what the Ali Act, there's plenty of stuff. There's plenty of stuff in MMA Fighting to go do it. It functionally is there to protect fighters from predatory practices of promoters. Removing that is like deregulating the banks. It's just a bad idea. And that seems like exactly what they're going to attempt to do, and they may well succeed. And if they do, that's just going to suck for boxers, is what's going to end up happening. And so I desperately hope they fail. I tend to believe that it will be a longer haul than they want it to be, because it is really hard to take things away from people that already have them. So it'll be a hard sell to take boxers and be like, we'll offer you $1 for every pay-per-view sold and no percentage of the gate, when that's not what they're currently making. But I don't know. Betting against Dana has been a really bad idea for the history of his life. So, like, I wouldn't bet against him. I'm just hoping that he doesn't succeed.
It's gonna be it's gonna be interesting. They're definitely gonna try to attempt to do everything you said. Can he get it done? I don't know. And even if they can't, I don't think they give a shit. I think they're just.
Can you put Liam Devine's comment up, Casey, about disagreeing with me? Because I'm not trying to attack Liam, but I do want to point this out, right? Like, I believe boxing is broken because the best don't fight the best. That wouldn't happen in the UFC. This is not to attack you, Liam. I mean this as honest as I can. I would absolutely trade the frustration of the best not fighting the best in the UFC for the moral clarity of fighters getting the money. They make 18 to 20% of every dollar earned in the UFC. Like, the number of stories of fighters who do not have good lives. Like, frankly, just the lawsuit and all the hundreds of admissions of, like, I need this payout from the UFC because of the dire financial, medical straits I am in right now. The worst part about being a fan of this sport is the disconnect I have to make of, these people are putting their lives on the line and they are not looked after in any way, shape, or form. Once they get past 30, it's over. At least in the NFL and football, there's a pension plan. They are getting 50% of the revenue, et cetera, et cetera. In MMA, that's not the case. If it the best don't always fight the best, because Francis Ngannou is not fighting John Jones. And two, I would absolutely trade us losing fights occasionally if it meant that every fighter was financially secured in a much better way than they currently are. If a magic genie was here and offered me that wish, I would take it, no questions asked.
Yeah. Again, if you want to argue that, the UFC always does best versus the best. John Jones just fought the ghost of Stipe Miocic at Madison Square Garden, while Tom Aspinall already defended his interim title. So there you go. It's not always going to be about merit in the best fighting the best. It's going to be about what makes the most money. And if you think that TKO boxing is going to look at this and not do like the biggest fight over the most meritocratic fight, you are out of your friggin' mind. You're out of your mind. You're crazy.
Just go back a few years. You go back to the whole Fedor fiasco in the UFC. Like we had the best. They couldn't make it happen because UFC. I mean, and it's going to get worse. And we say this all the time. Now that UFC has monopoly MMA, they can't do no wrong. So, like we even say guys like Pico, they don't have to sign Pico anymore because UFC is UFC. They don't need to sign the best out there. So if Jed says if TKO boxing became like the UFC of boxing, why would we get the best versus the best? We would just get the most profitable for the TKO boxing, I think.
We will just get the apex, guys. Like all of this is interrelated, and this is like the argument that I try to make the most that I think people don't understand or like don't really reckon with. I think it's pretty intuitive once you think about it. It's like it is bad for the sport to pay fighters a small percentage of revenue because what you are ultimately doing is not getting the best athletes in the world anymore because those athletes can go other places, right? Like if the NFL tomorrow was like, actually, football players will suddenly make 10% of revenue instead of 50%. A good chunk of them will be like, that's probably not really worth my time anymore. Some will still, because this is, their love, they're interested in it. But like, you are not going to be competitive on the global stage for athletes if you are not paying them at a premium price. And so that's like straight up the reason light heavyweight and heavyweight suck is because if you are a big human being who is athletic, you are going to go do other sports that pay you better with more guarantees than you get in combat sports. It's frankly why like the dregs of the NFL come and are relevant heavyweights. Like Brendan Schaub was a freaking practice teamer and became a top 10 heavyweight just because he's more athletic than the Parker Porters. God love the GOAT, but like, come on. Like, you're just not going to, when you start to with the money in the way that is we take the money and the people who earn it don't get it anymore, they're going to go do something else. And like, it's bad for the sport at all. Like, that's why we get these Apex cards. The answer should always be in all walks of life, I don't want a monopoly because monopolies are bad for consumers. Like that's just it. They are bad. They have short-term benefits and long-term huge failings for consumers.
And also, guys, even when you do the best fighting the best, rematches, whatnot, we call back to fights we need to see again. It don't mean shit financially. Look at the reported numbers for this Riyadh season card they just put on. It was like one of the most stacked main card boxing events ever. Estimated 45,000 pay-per-view buys. And that was for Better BF Bivol 2, which was like a fight everybody in the boxing space wanted to see.
They did PFL numbers, and they dropped the price tag on
worse,
it too.
Yeah, pretty bad. Yeah, it was $25.99. $25.99 45,000 buys.
When that news dropped, that was when I was like, oh, Turkey and Dana have a really good chance of succeeding. F it. That's bad.
Yeah. I mean, and then you look at the other side at like what MVP's doing, with the Jake Paul stuff. 100 friggin' million people watched Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. It was the worst fight of all time, but 100 million people watched it. 74 million people watched Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano beat the shit out of each other. Unreal. In an incredible fight. And now if you guys missed the news earlier
Mhm.
today, we're going to get the trilogy fight at Madison Square
Yeah.
Garden on Netflix, and it's
That's
going to be an
awesome.
all women's card. Like, that's badass. That's pretty sweet. And
That's-
both Taylor and Zerata are going to make a shit ton of money for doing this. So where is TKO boxing going to be? Are they going to be more towards the let's just put on cool fights and start, or are we going to be like, let's do freak show fights and hopefully it builds stars off of the freak show fights? Because that's obviously what we're getting here with Serrano and Taylor. That was the big talking point, and like the coolest thing that came out of that Paul Tyson card was going to the gym the next day. People were like, man, Tyson Paul was everything you said it was going to be. It was fucking terrible, but boy, I wanted to learn more about Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. Those two are awesome. So how are they going to handle it? Are they going to be on pay-per-view? Or is this going to be just on one streaming platform? Like, how are they going to do this? They are going to go to Alcatraz and do an event in June from what it appears to look like right now
Kind of a
in the
fun
news
idea.
space. Like, that's cool. What are you going to do with it? And then we'll see what like this big September news is going to be that Dana doesn't want to talk about. So yeah, it's obviously a big move, and like the Eddie Hearns and the Bob Arams of the world, and even the Jake Pauls and Nikisa Bedarians of the world have to be like, okay, we need to buckle up for a fight, but what is it all going to look like? We'll see.
They are my hope for how, because like it is functionally a non-starter if they can't get the Ali Act overturned. And my hope is that because boxing is a much more entrenched sport, the other promoters, Frank Warren, they will understand the import of keeping that intact and will lobby as aggressively as Dana and Turkey do to get it down. And so there's that. But like also just an old man take, super old man here. I get it. Half of you will hate it. I've been slowly coming around to this just with my broader feelings in general. The best fights, somewhat overrated, right? Like that's because over time the best do fight the best. And like think just sort of a corollary to the like stop doing super fights, just eat your vegetables. We are so possessed by like the thing we want now. That's like, okay, if it's not happening right now, it's a travesty that this isn't happening right now. I'm not saying that sometimes that does happen in boxing. Like it's shameful how Canelo is managing the back end of his career, but like mostly boxing does deliver you the fights you want. You might have to wait a little longer, but that waiting kind of makes them even better in a lot of respects. Like there are only a handful of times in boxing where I can think recently, it's like, man, that happened way after the sell-by date of it. But that also still happens in MMA. So like I think that's largely a fabrication that is easy to digest, but it's not actually true. Because like again, eating your vegetables is good. It's important to do that. Like people super didn't want Alex Pereira to fight Magomed Ankalaev on Saturday. Everybody was booking Alex Pereira versus John Jones. And I gotta tell you, I'm pretty pumped about Saturday. Really happy that this is what is occurring.
Yeah. I'm glad you pointed it out because this weekend we literally have the best fighting the best, and everyone's kind of like, but I don't want to see it. It could be boring.
No one said this is the best fight because it's the John Jones thing. Like, no, we're eating our vegetables this weekend, and these vegetables are delicious. This is some like Robuchon mashed potatoes right here. Like these are some high-end veggies, and I'm pretty excited about Saturday.
Yeah, we got Pereira versus Khalil Roundtree, which is, fun ass fight, but it made like no sense. And this is like a week after they booked Magomed Ankalaev to fight Alexander Rakic. And then when they asked Dana, like, why didn't they put Ankalaev in the title fight with Pereira? He's like, well, he's already booked for 2 weeks later. What? You can't just pull him out and have him fight for the belt 2 weeks early? I think he would have said yes to that.
Can't be done. Can't be done.
You just can't. So we shall wait and see what sorts of fights they announce, and we'll see what kind of dent they can make in the boxing space.
I just want to know where does GFL fit in all this?
There's no such thing as GFL.
There's no such thing. I was about to say that. Like, is TKO boxing like until there? I know it's not the same, but until there's a date and some sort of anything other than a press conference, like is it real? Do you guys? Is it 100%
Yes,
real?
I think it's real.
Okay.
If this was Dana saying it, no. Turkey saying it gives it credence.
Okay.
Because Dana says stuff
And-
all the time.
Yeah.
You don't take Dana's word at face value.
And
Turkey pronouncing Israel.
Nick Khan, Mark Shapiro.
Israel.
Mark Shapiro says some outlandish bullshitty things like the mighty apex. Like it's just absolutely insane, some of the things that come out of his mouth. But if he says that something's happening, then it's happening. Like they're not just gonna put it out, and like those individuals aren't. Like Dana White saying John Jones is definitely fighting this summer. Not really gonna buy into that. But Mark Shapiro saying we're getting into the boxing space. Yep.
Correct.
I will buy that and run with it forever.
Cosign.
All right. I still wish I had a Zuffa boxing shirt. That's like the one piece of MMA merch I wish I had that I never got.
Yeah.
Zuffa boxing.
The only MMA merch I wish I owned is the Giblert jersey.
Yeah, the Gibbler.
I
That's a good
wish
one,
I
too.
owned. I don't know how I didn't have the foresight to be like, I'm going to buy this.
I got it.
Man, I wish I had a Giblert shirt.
All right.
I hope they let UFC fighters box too.
That would literally the only benefit to this would be if they did that.
I mean, they're letting
Like
him
that-
grapple on Fight Pass, so I don't see this. You would hope.
I hope they let him do it. Like I would love to see Adrian Yanez, Rob Font have a boxing match. Like that'd be sick. Like a rematch in the boxing ring. Like those two boxing would be fun as hell.
That is the upside here. That would be really cool if they do go that route. I'm a proponent of that part of it.
We can see the crazy Hawaiian in a boxing ring too.
Yeah, you're right.
All
You're absolutely right.
No. I hate even saying that thought, but yeah. All right, we got a lot of super chats here.
All right, let's go. Terrence, I am late. Y'all talk about Cena's heel turn. No, we have not. I don't look.
Apparently
I know
a big
a lot of
deal.
people come out here. It was a very big deal.
It was a
I will
super
say,
big deal. It was a super big deal.
not seeing it live and just watching the social media clip, I was like, what the hell just happened? This is insane. And I thought it was brilliantly done, all of it. But then when I actually went back and watched the moment from when John won the Elimination Chamber to Cody coming out, I was like, all right, I'm glad I watched it in the way that I watched it, because had I watched it live and seen how this all played out, I would have saw the Cena heel turn coming 10 minutes before it happened. I was like, why is he still? Because I would have watched why is he still in the ring? What purpose does he have here for this moment with The Rock? And that would have been my only downfall from it. But I'm so glad I saw it in the way that I saw it, with just a social media clip of the go fuck yourself, the hug, Cena turning all angry and evil, the throat slash, and then the kick in the balls and all the damage that came from that. Outside of Travis Scott, which I still don't understand why his presence was felt in that moment, but it is what it is. Cool ass shit. It's got to be an interesting build to WrestleMania.
Is it bigger than the
Cosign.
Hulk heel turn?
Yes.
Bigger. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't really follow. I wasn't really following WWE at that time, or even now. So I'm very interested in your opinions. So yeah,
It was WCW, and it was no one saw it coming.
Dude, I'm so pro wrestling illiterate. I didn't know it was a heel turn. I just saw the clip, and it didn't register with me that this was a big thing. This was a heel turn until it was explained that I just thought he hit him in the balls, which doesn't necessarily to me that doesn't mean you're a bad guy. It just means you squared someone in the balls. But then I was
hit him with
this is actually the terrible heel turn. I was like, oh, okay.
And it's
Got
Cena
it.
doing it. Cena was the one. How long has he been a face?
It's been explained to me since.
Oh, okay.
But I don't follow this, so I just saw the funny clip of a dude getting squared in the balls. I was like, that's enjoyable. And John Cena is
the classics
and
never
really
got a
trying
style.
to hide it.
Yeah.
And then then it was oh my god, this is momentous. And Jon Stewart's talking about it on the Daily Show. It's
comparing it to this.
Obviously,
Dude, it was
Yeah.
on first take. It was major news everywhere.
It's obviously a very big deal.
Yeah,
No concept.
massive.
I just thought it was funny to watch some dude get kneed in the balls.
But
both can be true. Both can be true.
Yeah. But what I like about it is that, because this is Cena's retirement year, this is his last year being a wrestler. And I don't think you can end his career being bad guy John. I just don't think you can. It's interesting going into Mania. It's going to be interesting going through the year, especially when he has 30, 35 appearances this year. But also, like, everyone gets sick of The Rock the more he's on television. That Cena turning on The Rock like later in the year will be like a momentous occasion that turns him right back into a babyface whenever they need it. So that was brilliant. It was great.
Question?
I have a question. So I know that John Cena's retiring, and he's retiring at the end of this year. He's not like retiring at WrestleMania, which feels like a better place to retire. Like, is there like a
Nope, not retiring
December
Mania.
New Year's Eve show in pro wrestling?
Yeah, there's a December show, but Survivor Series is like the big one for like the winter.
In Japan?
Uh-oh. Wait,
He's
we
back.
lost you for a
I don't know,
moment,
just
Jed.
to me, it feels like if I was a pro wrestler looking to retire. Oh, am I
You're
back?
back. You're good. You're good.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like if I'm a pro wrestler and I want to retire, it feels like I would want to retire at WrestleMania, not just like at the end of a specific year. But I don't know. So he's not retiring in like 2 weeks. He's retiring in December.
He's retiring at
Okay.
the end of the year, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Terrence. To these last super chats because we've gone about 55 minutes. All right.
So apparently, by the way, I think honestly the best way they should do it is, I guess they have not like named a venue for Survivor Series yet in November. Got to do it at the Garden. Got to do it in Boston.
What's the
Cena's
gimmick
retirement
on
match
that
in
one?
Boston. Well, they do like a cage match thing, but it doesn't matter. Just have John wrestle somebody in Boston for his last match.
Well, like the Survivor Series isn't like a Rumble or like there's not like a special gimmick for surviving.
It's too
It's
long
like
of a
King of the Hill.
conversation to
That's
talk
kind
about
of
the
a
history of
Rumble.
Survivor Series, but
Okay.
yeah,
Fair
it's
enough.
changed over the years. But yeah, let's keep.
I got to tell you,
keep on
Survivor Series feels like the name of the Royal Rumble. You are the one surviving in the ring. You are the king of the hill. But neither here nor there.
Yes. All right. What else we got?
You watching the AEW pay-per-view? Is it this Sunday?
Maybe.
I want to watch it. I like.
It's gonna be so
No one.
I don't know. Their
no
pay-per-views
one
are always like
no one want. But go on.
the pay-per-views are always like good. Like you get good matches, but it's just like why? Like why is every match have to be like this? Why does every match have to be 47 minutes of craziness? Like we can balance
what are we even
it
here
a little
for?
bit.
Eat Arby's.
But see, here's the thing. Like we'll come out of the pay-per-views and be like, wow, that was awesome. And then we'll get to Dynamite on Wednesday and be like, how do you fuck this up so badly? Like you had such a great pay-per-view and then you just ruined everything on Wednesday.
I feel the same way with Raw, but whatever.
Oh, Raw's been terrific lately. It's been on fire.
Well, but a lot of in the past, But
in the past,
yeah. I'm looking forward to Revolution, and I'm hoping to have the energy to do it because I know we're gonna have a long night before. So I'm like,
yes.
All right. Thank you much. Let's get to these last super chats. Spencer, $9.99.
Let's go. We've yet another guy saying he's going to stand with the 2-division glory champ and one of the pound-for-pound hardest hitters ever. Poetan has many gifts, but it's his best ability getting everyone to stand with him. Spoiler alert, I spoke with Magomed Ankalaev. It is a thrilling interview. I say that with
he was tired.
a lot of sarcasm.
He was tired.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I'll blame him, man. Like he already went through media day. I was probably like his friggin' 35th interview of the week, trying to ask him like some different shit, and he's just kind of over it. But I asked him about the promise of whether or not he's going to stay with Alex Pereira. One thing you can say about Magomed Ankalaev, the man might lie on social media, but he's going to tell you the truth when you ask him a question. He's sitting on the video screen. If you think for 1 second he's not going to try to shoot a takedown on Alex Pereira, you're all insane. He's going to shoot on him without question. He's not going to rob him, but he's absolutely going to shoot a takedown attempt or 2 or 3 in this fight.
He's changed levels. Yeah, you have to. I mean, that's
Yeah,
that's
you should
sport.
just almost never trust fighters when they say things about what they're going to do in a fight. Yeah, he's for sure. Like, if he comes out and maybe he won't shoot a takedown if the first punch he throws lands and knocks Alex out, or vice versa, but otherwise he's going to shoot a takedown. I I don't know how successful he's going to be, which is one of the like primary dichotomies of this fight I'm very interested in. But also like to some extent, this is posed as a joke. I do think this gets to a real fact about Pereira's run, which is unbelievable, and you can only fight the guys you fight, right? Like we can't take that away from him. Boy, his timing is good because Alex Pereira, the light heavyweight, like 10 years ago, is an unknown mid carder, right? Like, man, if this guy could ever learn to wrestle, he'd be sick. But Phil Davis took him down 17 times. So, like, it just didn't matter. Like, middleweight and light heavyweight are deeply non grappling centric weight classes. His middleweight run was like, he could have run into more grapplers, but functionally just like we all knew the game, and the UFC was like, let's not have him fight any of those. Michaelitis, that's the only dude who kind of grapples, sure. And light heavyweight, like one dude has tried to take him down. And also, that's the guy who almost beat him and went to a split decision with him in Jan Blachowicz. So, like, there aren't the horses in the barn that there used to be who that was part of their game. Like, I do not think it is a bold statement to say that Prime DC just dog walks Alex Pereira. Based on what we've seen in the cage, it doesn't make Alex Pereira not a great fighter, but like this is the age in which he is competing. And so he's not having to trick people into standing with him. There's just a whole lot of dudes who don't wrestle in this weight class right now.
Yeah.
That's really it, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Spencer.
John, predictions of who will win the fantasy league.
I mean,
Casey's gonna win. You kidding me?
Casey has a pretty clear advantage at this point in time. He is almost 200 points clear of the next competitor. And, some of that will be dependent, like, still totally up in the air because there's just a lot of fighters haven't competed yet. If they get injured, if they lose. Casey's big advantage is that he's won all of his fights right now. Every person on his team has won their fist fight, which is just like pretty key.
I think Cop maxed out too this weekend too with main event
Cop
ranked.
maxed out on what he can get, right?
Yeah.
I think 300 is the capper.
Oh, outside of a championship fight, yeah.
I say 300 includes a championship bonus there, and he can't get that. So he maxed points. Merab was like pretty close to max points, didn't get bonus. I think was the differentiator there. Casey's got a bunch of champions, and those champions have all held their belts thus far. So I believe I'm functionally out of it. I would need but that's sort of what's been really fun about this season is there's still a long way to go until June. Like June is the last month of the season. We're about to get our first repeat fighter, and Jean Silva is now signed again to compete. So AK has a chance to get a double hit of John Silva. And if randomly a bunch of late, early summer fights get booked for one person over the other, they could still make a comeback. But Casey is currently well in the lead.
It'd be interesting in how International Fight Week is booked too, because that could change a lot too, because there's gonna be a lot of championship fights. So hopefully we'll see. Yeah,
could get real interesting. Jan Blachowicz coming up, Sean Brady coming up in a main event, which is like a great draft pick for me out of nowhere, like an unexpected, terrific draft pick. If he beats Leon Edwards, that's really good. Kayla Harrison reportedly is going to fight for the belt in June. Molly McCann has got maybe the easiest fight of her career, and Yusuf Salal's got a ranked win. Maybe we'll get another. And Jasmine Jasavicius has a ranked win and might get another one in 2 months' time. So
we have the
Mike could potentially be in a lot better shape, but for the Armin issues at 311.
Yeah, I just need Armin to fight a ranked dude, and we'll be okay.
And yes, Casey, he has had pretty tough luck with Shavkat dying.
Oh, man.
Luana out.
Luana out.
Shavkat,
a couple of losses as far as the Gregory Rodriguez, he was winning until he died. He's had a really tough run of things, but he does have Alex Pereira. I like it because Guy's team basically is like the GFL Brazilian team, which rocks. But he really needs Pereira to max points for him this weekend to get back in the game right now.
Did anyone have Ankalaev?
Nope.
No, I don't think so.
Wow, no one drafted Ankalaev.
That's kind of bold.
Interesting.
Someone should have taken at least a flyer there, but yeah, no. So Casey is like
I don't think this fight was booked
clear of
when we did the
Alex.
draft.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. But I think
It was not
I
booked.
mean, yeah, but
Well,
I
like,
mean, like,
certainly Ankalaev would have fought somebody if he wasn't fighting Pereira, but bird in the hand over two in the bush.
yeah, like I booked I forgot his Ming Zhang. How do you say his name? The guy fighting Anthony Smith. Like I booked him as my wild. Yeah, sorry, I booked him as a wild
It's a
card
really
pick.
good wild card pick.
Yeah,
It's a
so
really good wild
I
card
could have gone Ankalaev. I realized, but I decided to go.
You're gonna get max points on that one.
Yeah, I will get max. Yeah, I'm very happy with that pick though.
That's the thing. Casey still has Carlos Ulberg who could win. He's got Bilal Muhammad. And when Bilal Muhammad was fighting Shavkat, that was a much more dangerous than I think him fighting Jack Della is.
It's a main event. Yeah.
Bryce Mitchell, he could absolutely beat John Silva, frankly. And then Zhang, like, so it's up there.
And and I still have Oliver Aspinall. I'm hoping one of those guys get actually booked. We'll see. We'll see. All right. Thank you, Spencer.
Oh yeah, and Casey had Manel Kopp, who frankly got a better fight than the Brandon Royval fight. Like early returns have been key for Casey thus far, and taking advantage.
Yeah,
I'm so good at this fantasy thing.
Honestly, this is way more fun than I thought it would be too, just because of all the fight changes that have happened. Like we drafted the best we could, and like 7 fighters dropped off already, so it's been way more entertaining than I thought it would be.
It's been tough for Damon, man.
Oh,
Jamal Hill.
It's been a real tough run for Damon.
He gets another shot at Jamal Hill though, which is in a main event, which worked out for him. He had Shara Bullet, who gave him a 0. Steve Garcia was supposed to fight a ranked guy. No longer fighting a ranked guy.
Brandon Royval got
Royval main event out. Virna Jandiroba not getting a title fight. She's now she's fighting Yan Jianan, could very well lose that fight. Like Manon Fiorot, that could be an interesting one if she wins the belt.
My secret favorite thing about the fantasy league that I didn't realize would happen is now every time an announcement happens, I immediately go to our Slack channel. I'm like, "Ooh, sucks to be Damon. Brandon Royval's out. By the way, we need to write this up for the site."
Yes.
It's just like deeply fun.
It's got fantasy implications.
Like, my first thought is not, here's the news that needs to get out. It's, I got to shit talk Damon because this happened or whatever.
It is turned into the shit talking channel.
It's easily the shit talking channel. It's the most fun.
But it also throws me off because, like, if a topic of conversation comes up about one of our fighters, we immediately think we're talking shit about fantasy, and it turns out it's about like something completely different. Me and AK have fallen into that trap a few times. Yeah. He's like, "I'm not talking about fantasy." I'm like, "Oh, okay, sorry."
That's the best. It's maybe the best thing I've ever done. Just make this happen. I'm so happy about it. We got a lot of action this weekend too, guys. Alex Pereira.
I don't think I have anybody.
I don't think who else is going on, but next few weeks got some heaters coming down the pipe.
All right. Let me see what else we got super chat wise. One more super chat. $9.99.
Spencer, man, beautiful to see my favorite MMA trio today. In 15 years as an MMA fan, Poatan, the biggest anomaly I've seen, and is now one of my favorite fighters ever. Who are your 3 favorite fighters ever? GSP, Spider, Nick Diaz are mine.
Really hard.
Is Poatan the biggest anomaly?
One of. I don't know if he's like that's a hard thing to quantify. I need to think a little more. His career is unique.
He's definitely up there. Yeah,
like it's incredibly unique in this sport.
Yeah, especially because like if there's no Izzy, I mean, Poatan might have gotten here eventually, but at his age, I doubt it. And the way he got just.
Dude, he would have had to fight matchups. Somebody for real at middleweight before they just put him into the title fight.
Yeah, like he got a title fight without fighting Vittori, which I don't think anyone has or anyone gets. So, yeah, so definitely just perfect timing for Poatan.
Very much an anomaly. Honestly, could easily be the biggest. I have to really think about it to be certain, but I can't. Nothing is jumping off the page at me as like, man, that's like his career is just so different than anybody else's has ever been.
Yeah. It's like him, Brock Lesnar.
Brock is also a
Probably
huge anomaly. Yeah, fair.
I mean, we have to think about it, but
Yeah, those probably are like the two that are the most obvious. As far as favorite fighters, let me narrow down to three. There's like five jump in my head immediately. I know one of them. I have to decide who get to fill out the last two spots.
I mean, guys that I had to watch before I got into covering the sport. Frankie Edgar was probably like my favorite. Diego Sanchez is like one of the dudes that like got me into watching fighting.
Really?
Like more consistently, because I watched like one episode of The Ultimate Fighter, and he was such a like lunatic that I was like, all right, I have to watch next week because Diego Sanchez is such a lunatic. And then obviously most of his early UFC fights were all like absolute wild fanatic bangers. And then third of like people I had to watch, I mean, maybe it was Chuck Liddell, like when he was running it, but yeah, I think I liked the sport more than like the individuals. But Frankie Edgar was like the guy I was like, yeah, watch, like he was the dude I had to watch as much as possible. Plus, he cashed the first bet I had ever made in MMA when he beat BJ Penn for the lightweight title in their first fight.
Robbery, by the way.
I'll take it.
I think I have to go BJ, Aldo, and Habib, but Fedor and Gaethje are the next two, and like Fedor is right there. Like those five have just been like the bulletproof five forever for me at this point. Gaethje just came around a little later, so it's just not quite the same as like BJ, Fedor, and Aldo are the reasons I fell in love with this sport. Like the three of them are it, and then Habib genuinely made me re-love the sport as he came up and was so unique and different, and his game was just so advanced beyond anybody else. And Justin Gaethje, if you just don't love to watch Justin Gaethje fight, I do not know why you're a fan of the sport. I'm not saying you have to, but like it's impossible not to love to watch that man fight. So like that's the five, and I think I have to default to BJ, Aldo, and Habib. But yeah,
Lawler's up there too.
well, I mean Lawler's a great choice too, man.
Yeah. I don't know if I have favorite fighters, but I always think of just fighters that really just like changed my just rewired my brain type of fighters. Like I think like when you
Those
saw
are my
me
favorite
fight,
fighters, though.
yeah. But they weren't necessarily the best. I mean, I just mean just fighters that's like, oh my god, I can't believe I saw that. Like, I think of like for me, it was more like moments like Eddie Alvarez's run and when he fought in Japan.
Dude, the dream run was sick.
It's just so sick. I loved Prime Paul Daly. I just loved him. Prime Nick Diaz. Just the insanity and I was very fortunate because.
Condit was also
Condit, yeah, and I was just especially
in the top 10.
Oh, jeez, yeah, and I was just very fortunate because I was working at Strike Force at the time and at those events, so I got to see a lot of those up close and personal. Robbie Lawler, Nick Diaz, kind of having that run over there and everything. It was just just very I really can't do three favorite fighters. It's just more like just certain moments.
Really hard.
Yeah, just moments I just loved. But thank you, Spencer. It's fun. It's fun going back, thinking about those fun fights.
BJ and Aldo are just like those are unimpeachable to me. Like that is my A and B, or just because like they are why I am in the sport. The third one was the really, really hard spot because there's just a lot of dudes up.
Oh, I forgot to mention freaking Fedor, of course, too. Fedor is like one of the guys just blew me away. And I missed Fedor's prime, his kind of pride run. Like I wasn't even a fan, honestly, but going back and looking at it, like, oh my god, I missed so much awesomeness.
Here's how good freaking Fedor was. Like y'all just don't know. The people in this chat who haven't been fans for 20 years. Prime Fedor would still be a top 5 heavyweight today, which is categorically insane. Like,
Absolutely.
that's just not how the sport's supposed to work. That Prime Fedor would be like a top 5 heavy. He was so good, man. He was so far ahead of everybody that it was absurd.
Thank you. All right, before we get out of here,
Please
gotta
tell
tell what.
me.
Oh,
All right, yeah, pull it up, pull it up.
no,
I want to see if it happens. I want to see if it comes up. If not, we have to bring it up. But we'll see what you pull up first.
well, tell me, because I had some old questions I wanted to pull up. But this is
Potentially a tweet by.
Oh,
Gimmick parlay is hitting this week. Do you have any
Really?
gimmicks this week, Jed? Santos parlay, maybe?
So the Santos parlay, now that there's a third leg to the Santos parlay, I'm much more excited about it than I was before. Because it's like, not opposed to a 2-leg gimmick parlay, but just the two Santoses on the card. So there's an Alex parlay you could throw up there, Pereira and Morono, obviously.
yeah, Alex.
But now that I have become familiarized with Mauricio Ruffy's name actually being Mauricio Santos, and Ruffy is apparently a One Piece character or the name of something in One Piece. Not entirely sure. Don't quote me on that. Now that there are 3 Santoses on this card, the Santos parlay I'm much more excited about. So that for sure, that's one.
No gimmicks for me. What do you think about we haven't heard from Don Davis in a minute.
It wasn't the best.
Don Davis tweets out top 10.
It's a bit silly.
All right, we'll finish up with this one.
All right, top 10 heavyweights according to. He says it's MMA fans, but just I don't think that most MMA fans would agree with this list. Number 1, Francis Ngannou, which if you're a promoter, you kind of have to put your guy first. John Jones 2, Tom Aspinall 3, Vadim Nemkov, who's been a heavyweight for a cup of coffee, number 4, Cyril Gane number 5, Henan Fajeda number 6, Curtis Blades number 7, Volkov 8, Dennis Goldsov 9th, Phil DeFries 10th. Thoughts on this list from Don Davis?
It's like the least objectionable thing he's done in a while. So
yeah,
I'm okay with it.
Of all the graphics that he has created over the last 2 years, this might be the best one, and it's still not good.
John Jones is too high.
I mean,
Tom Aspinall number 3 is ridiculous. I'm sorry.
I would suggest that every person on that list is an incorrect location, and many of them should be on that list whatsoever. But
are any off by more than 2?
Henan Fajeda, for sure.
Let me look at it again.
Henan Fajeda should not be in the top 10.
I'm okay with him being at 10. I'm not okay with him being at 6.
Yeah, 6 is insane. And being ranked above Curtis Blades is ridiculous. Curtis Blades would clobber him in a fight.
6 is too high. 6 is too high. I grant.
Nemkov is off by a lot because Nemkov has just not accomplished anything at heavyweight to be.
It's kind of on potential. Yeah, you kind of put him on potential.
He beat Tim Johnson.
Like that. You put him there because he's PFL.
Yeah.
Whatever. So I would say that both Fajeda and Nemkov are far too high. And I like Dennis Goldsov more than most. Probably it's not 9 either, for being real. But again, that's promoter. If that's what Don Davis wants to do, that's fine. That's unobjectionable promoting. He is bigging up his guys, giving people something to talk about, while not poking the bear or whatever, or not saying something insane. So a little silly, but in the context of Don Davis, his last 17 tweets, that's a win.
Yeah.
I have no issues with him.
Better than the television distribution and fans for each promotion graphic that he made.
Bad one.
Golly. Very bad. Very, very bad.
Well, lazy bed. Hulk isn't going to smash Superman because you got to read the comics. And in the comics, Superman beats Hulk. And so Petrosian's going to win. Shout out to that fight. That's the best fight of the weekend. Super in on the dumb matchmaking of the UFC.
Do we have anything else, or are we good?
Joseph Boza, no, none of us believe John Jones will be back this summer. I saw him ask this question like 12 times.
No.
No.
That's,
I'm going to speak for both Casey and Mike and say we
Yeah.
do not believe this.
John Jones is the GFL of the UFC. Until he's actually in the cage fighting, then I do not believe he's fighting.
No one drafted John Jones, right?
Nobody drafted John.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. I think AK did.
What? No,
AK
he did last
did.
season.
Nope.
He
AK
did?
drafted John Jones as his heavyweight. I was like, I'm pretty sure
Wow.
he drafted John Jones. I think he got him really late, but
I think it was like one of the last rounds. Yeah.
There also weren't good heavyweights because I took 2 of them with my first 3 picks, and so there
I get
weren't
to
good
double
choices.
dip on
He took
Shamil
John
Gaethje.
Jones.
God, I get to double dip on Shamil. This is very exciting. I forgot all about that. He's fighting Sergey Spivak, so we got options here.
But Jailton
I'll tell you what, man.
Are going to get fights again this year, and they're going to lift my team out of the abyss.
If Alex Pereira nukes Magomed Ankalaev, might see him this summer. We might.
That would be the funniest, most transparent. We could get back on here and be like, "Sir, remember when the best fought the best, and Tom Aspinall spent 2 years being the heavyweight champion of the world while not getting to be the heavyweight champion of the world?"
You see, this is the brilliance of Dana White, though. You see what he's been saying in all of his interviews. If Alex Pereira wins, he might be the best fighter in the world, and then they can promote this fight as number 1 versus number 2, at least the way they see it, or at least the way Dana views it. Puts Pereira above John Jones after all this time with Islam Makhachev.
Except for he finally relented on the Islam thing. I won't agree with it.
Yeah, but now he's willing to put Pereira up there if he wins.
Yeah, I don't agree, but I don't think it's a ridiculous statement. I think that there will absolutely be people who are reopening the argument that Pereira is the top pound-for-pound fighter in the world if he boops Ankalaev on Saturday. And I'm open to it. I am too. Won't be what I would choose, but I'm open to it.
But to hear Dana White say that,
it would be funny.
Things might be happening.
All right. Last question. It's just a quick answer because this one could go for a while, but it's just a quick answer on this one.
Most niche hot take that you would still go to war over?
I guess in MMA.
Huh. I mean,
it has to be an MMA because if it's not, like,
yeah, it will be.
I would get
it's
fired.
gotta be MMA.
Yeah. So, I like my job.
Yeah.
Niche hot take in MMA.
I mean, I'm going with Old Faithful that Jed and I have been talking about for over 5 years now. Every fighter should cheat, and if you're not cheating, you're not doing it right. Because no referee on planet Earth will make a call to change the outcome of a fight. They do not want that responsibility. So all fighters should cheat. That's the hot take that I will continue to rifle through every time we see an eye poke or a ball kick or a fence grab that is not called and it's egregious and Twitter loses their shit over it. Always remember, just cheat. Just cheat. Miss weight. Make sure you miss weight by 2.5 pounds if this is one of your first 3 fights. If you're on the entry-level UFC contract, miss weight. 20% of your purse, who gives a shit? You get the win bonus, all works out better for you in the end. So just cheat. No one's going to stop you. You're kind of crazy if you don't.
I'll give you 2. Because 1, I'm not sure it's niche anymore. It's very related to what Mike just said. I don't know if I started it, but I was an early adopter and one of the loudest proponents that you should take a penalty point for every infraction. And I think people are slowly coming around to that. I think that's still probably not the popular view, but I don't know if it's as niche as it used to be. So, like, that's the one. That one I will go to war over. I won't really go to war over this one, but it's definitely the hottest MMA take I have that I'm got a lot of conviction behind. John Jones is wildly overrated as far as greatness goes. I will not expound further upon that, but I think that he is wildly overrated. Not as far as what he could have been, which is, like, I think that as far as, like, skills, unbelievable. I think his accomplishments are overstated by a good margin.
All right. Oh, mine rings over cages. That's all.
Yeah, that is for sure yours, Casey.
Yeah.
No doubt about that one.
Rings over cage.
You've been
done?
team rings over cages for years.
And actually, after training in a cage, I'm even more about it because freaking cages suck. They freaking hurt. All right, we good?
Well, it hurts to say goodbye to all of you. Hit the music. We're done. Back tomorrow. Busy day. We got more coming up in MMA fighting later on. We got of course, the UFC 313 press conference, which should be a doozy. Tomorrow we'll have the weigh-in show. We'll have a preview show to get you ready for the festivities. Power Slap tomorrow. We got Fight Pass Invitational tonight on UFC Fight Pass. So a lot going on. And of course, People's Pre-Fight Show on Saturday. Watch Party on Saturday. Post-Fight Show on Saturday. On to the next one Sunday. Buckle up. For Casey, for Jed, I'm Mike Heck. Eshelin takes you home. Good night, everybody.
Love y'all.
This has been Between the Links, an MMA fighting production on the Vox Media Network.